Grease effects are one of the most enjoyable finishing touches you can do on your model. But you might be asking, how should I proceed if I want them to be heavy but not overdone? Which products should I use? When should I apply them? Well, I think I've got some answers, so stay tuned and find out. What is up, you beautiful human beings? So this video will be mostly about painting grease effects, but I'm also gonna finish this Char one, and that means I will cover some other things as well. Mainly some metallic and smoke effects, and then the final assembly of the model. So let's talk about those grease stains. If you want to build up the effect slowly, I'd always recommend starting with oil paints. Dark blackish brown colors work best for this. The advantage of oils is that you can use them straight from the tube or thin them down. I'd recommend starting with consistency of a heavy wash. I'll start adding the effect around those, I think they are suspension maintenance hatches. Having good references is a huge benefit if you want to create interesting effects that look believable, and I'm following two specific photographs which show these tanks with huge amounts of grease spilling out of those hatches. Variety is a key with these effects, and once again real-life references are very helpful here. As you can see, the amount of grease is different on each hatch. Mind you, the process is very simple. Apply the paint following your references, let it dry until you see the thinner has evaporated, aka the paint turns matte, and then blend it with small amounts of thinner. You will often need to go back and forth here, so for example you blend the paint too much, then you go back and add some more, and then blend it again. Also, if you're creating some streaking grime effects, it's important to keep gravity and position of the tank in mind. So in my case, or actually in most cases, the streaks should run at 90-degree angle straight down. The only case when this doesn't apply is an abandoned vehicle sitting on uneven surface like a hill or in a hole in a diorama. It's also cool if you try to connect the individual effects by, for example, creating a heavy wash that runs around surrounding details. It all gets down to your reference photos and trying to replicate what you see there. But there's a small catch. I said this a few times already and I'll keep saying this forever. Realistic doesn't equal nice looking. You always need to make weathering effects more stylistic because oftentimes they'd look unfinished, bad, or just simply rushed. A good example are my references, in which the grease looks the same as when I just applied it with the brush without blending. And that, let's be honest, wouldn't look very nice, don't you think? Yeah, well, modeling is all about deception. You're deceiving the viewer into thinking your model is something more than a piece of plastic by using paints and techniques, or you're deceiving them to think the model is much bigger than it actually is by photographing it from a good angle, because that's what scale modeling is. So another thing I noticed in my references is something that I'm actually gonna replicate almost to a T. And that little something something is speckling. So for some reason there are several grease stains and spatters visible in my references, and I can't quite understand why. And this is the beauty of using references, by the way. You don't have to be an expert on the subject you're painting, as long as you simply have a real-life proof. In my previous videos, I used my finger to flick the paint from the brush, and this was often uncontrollable, but mainly you guys weren't able to see a thing. So luckily, I remembered this trick I learned from Mike Rinaldi to use some solid object to flick the paint. I'm using the same oil paint as before, although it's slightly more thinned down, and I'm actually using two different consistencies, one similar to a regular wash, which will leave opaque stains, and one much thinner, almost like a filter, to create more fine mottled effect. I'd honestly recommend using the speckling method with most weathering techniques, because weathering simply has to look somewhat random, and we as human beings are not great at that. So when I felt there were enough specks, I went over the entire area with a soft brush and small amount of thinner to first remove some of the less pleasant looking stains, and then adjusted some others, and by adjusting I mean blending and sometimes connecting two small stains into a bigger one, and so on and so forth. This should be done rather quickly, because if you'd leave the effect to dry for let's say an hour, you'd be unable to remove the paint. That's simply because we have layers of dust and mud effects underneath, which make blending a real nightmare if you are too slow. Another nice detail is large grease accumulation on the idler wheels and their axle covers. Once again, we have some earth effects in place, which make the blending slightly more difficult, but they also contribute to the overall authentic look. Because grease always attracts dust, so naturally, these effects should be always surrounded by earth tones. Turret rings are places where large amounts of grease can be seen quite often. I honestly think I went way overboard here, but I believe it was for the best in the end. The reason was mainly because I didn't have clear references for this part, but besides that, adding this effect on horizontal surfaces is exactly the same process as before. So you first paint the grease where you need it, then blend it, then add some speckling and blend that as well if you need to. The only difference is that you won't be adding any streaking effects. This is another example how you can achieve strong contrast between parts using something that actually happens in real life. Engine decks are also parts where grease or fuel stains should naturally appear, and by once again looking at some reference photos, I found the crews often carry jerry cans here, so it felt more than appropriate to add some dark spatters here. Weathering doesn't just make models more authentic, but it can also tell a story, which I'm not pretending is this case, because if I didn't tell you about those jerry cans, it would make no sense. But it also can capture the atmosphere, or if I want it to be less poetic, the overall feel of something. In this case, the gritty and filthy surface of the tank. Now I will give more texture to these effects using this glossy enamel paint from Wilder. We must keep in mind that gloss effects are very strong and therefore should be used in limited amounts, so I'm adding it only in places with heaviest layers of grime. I was talking about adding more texture because texture determines if the surface is glossy or flat, and thanks to this step the grease will have several textures. Glossy in deep crevices where fresh grime is leaking, and then the stain will get progressively more matte towards the outside. This will make the result more captivating and also more interesting to look at. Although this is optional, I would still suggest doing this just so your model can look more finished, aka so it is clear that you try to make the most out of every effect. At least that's something I enjoy, but I guess you're here because we have similar taste in weathering, so I suppose we're on the same side here. So with the grease done, let's move on to some smoke effects. Although I don't use it quite often, this time I'll use pure black pigment, which I'll be applying dry to make things less complicated, because, let's be honest, at this point I was starting to get quite fed up with this model. Because the exhausts are pointed down, some smoke residue will be present on fenders, and I'm also adding very small amounts of smoke on the tip of each exhaust. If you look at real exhausts, you'll notice that they're not completely covered in black soot as we often see on scale models. And if you watch my previous video series, I said that I don't use black pigment for smoke effects, and that's true. I prefer dark gray pigment, which I then cover with black oil paints, but in this case I just wanted to get the model finished, and also the smoke areas are so small it would be a complete waste of time. Smoke can be also found at the ends of gun barrels, but again it has to be extremely subtle. And it's also important to keep in mind that some countries like Germany used gunpowder which didn't produce soot, so their gun barrels were actually clean. So with that out of the way, let's move on to some metallic effects. People often forget about this technique for some reason, although it might be one of the most important steps if you really want to give your model that metal touch. Not to mention how dead easy it actually is. All you need is a soft pencil or this graphite rod which I bought from an art store. The basic rule is to polish any edges where large amounts of chipping are present. Or actually, you know what, you can do this even if you didn't paint any chips on your model. Exposed edges get worn anyway, so you can use this technique on its own, although I don't think it will be as impactful as when you combine it with chipping. I would also suggest avoiding chipped parts which are already covered with dust, mud, grime, or any other effect. The polished graphite would look just completely unnatural there, and you can trust me on this one because I made this mistake several times in the past. It's like, yeah, it's cool and simple, but don't get carried away with it. Besides, this thing is gonna be visible only at certain angles because graphite is dark and it becomes shiny only when it reflects light back at you. The amount of metallic effects will also depend on the subject you're building. A tank with lots of exposed edges is a good subject for this, but for example, a round cast turret is a different story. You can also add graphite over large chips to make them look more authentic, but again be careful with that, as you'll need a sharp pencil. So with this done, I could now assemble the model, and even now I used a reference photo to position the turret and commander's cupola in a more creative way. One of the last things to add was an antenna which I cut from a steel guitar string. I think it's about 0.2 or 0.3 millimeters thick, and the reason I use guitar strings instead of copper wire is that they keep their straight shape and it's hard to accidentally bend them. And then I painted it with dark grey Vallejo color. Turns out attaching the chain might have been the most difficult thing on this model. I also wanted to film how I painted it because a friend of mine told me he hates chains because it's hard to paint them as they always just fly around when you're airbrushing them, but unfortunately this one is just so small I had problems seeing what I'm doing, let alone trying to film it. Maybe I'll film it in the future if I have a bigger chain to paint, but the process is quite simple. So I first airbrushed the chain with dark grey Tamiya paint, then stippled it with light rust paints from Life Color, followed by dark brown rust tones from the same brand. Then I quickly applied small amount of dust colored pigment. I tried to use a pigment which was similar to the dust effects on the model, and then simply polished the chain with graphite powder applied with my fingers. And because I damaged the hook in the process, I repainted the exposed wire with dark brown rust color, and with that the model was finished. And now I just want to say how glad I am to have this thing done, because I was honestly starting to lose my patience towards the end of the project. When I was starting I was like so stoked, but as time progressed I guess I just realized the subject wasn't as awesome as I initially thought. Add the fact that small scale models seem harder to film for me and, well, whatever. I'd also like to mention that the model unfortunately isn't completely historically accurate. For example, this specific tank had an extended fuel tank at the back, and the drive sprockets and idler wheels seem to have been painted with German yellow. So obviously there was nothing I could do about the rear extension, because the model was already painted when I learned about that, and the idea of yellow wheels was just so horrendous I tried to compensate that by making them lighter than the rest of the tank with dust tones. So here you have it, my fully honest final thoughts. You can also check out my Instagram for detailed photos of this model, and the next model on this channel will be bigger, it's again gonna be 1/35th scale. And this time I want to make more useful videos for you guys, so you can expect my first detailed tutorials dedicated to specific techniques. And maybe I'll also try to do a kit review, because they seem to be all the rage on YouTube. But I'm really not sure how I feel about that idea right now as I speak, but I guess you'll see for yourselves the next week. That's all I have to say today, so thank you all for watching and I'll see you mates in the next one.